Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to begin this morning by being really honest with you. We're all friends here, right? Okay, here it goes. I'm a little bummed this Shabbat. And the reason I'm bummed is because, as you know, Rabbi David Mendelson was supposed to be giving the sermon this morning instead of me. But he's not. So rather than avoid talking about it with you, I've decided to be transparent and just to tell you like it is. It stinks. It's not terrible. It's obviously not awful, but it has left me feeling kind of yucky. Now, I want to be pretty clear. I know Rabbi David Mendelson pretty intimately. We were friends in rabbinical school, and I can tell you, he is not a bad guy. Rather, I think he, and to a certain extent, we as a congregation are a victim of the rabbinic search process, which has been incredibly turbulent for all synagogues since the pandemic, because there is a lack of Jewish clergy in America right now. So David had interviewed at Beth Yeshurun in Houston last week, and he told me it was a possibility that they would offer him the gig while he was out here. And he also told me that if he didn't agree to take the job when they offered it to him, they could very well offer it to someone else, and he wasn't willing to make that gamble. And honestly, as a colleague in the same profession, I'm a little mixed, because I can't say that I really blame him. Being a rabbi can be a hard job, and you want to go to a shul where you feel fulfilled, where you feel like your family wants you to be, where you feel like you can have the space to breathe, to excel and commit. But even with all of that being said, it still stinks. And I'm okay to say that it stinks. And it doesn't look good on anybody. It doesn't look good on David for pulling out. It doesn't look good on Beth Yeshurun, who, by the way, chose not to expedite their decision with him, even when they were informed that he was interviewing us and would get a call while he was there, thus forcing him to pull out. And even though it's not our fault, the optics of having a candidate hop out of the pool doesn't look great on our end either. Not great. Now, obviously, friends, please hear this. This is not the end of the world for Agudas Achim. Far from it. As you know, we interviewed another candidate this week as well, Rabbi Alex Friedman, and we're continuing the search with the possibility of more candidates coming to visit in the near future. But let's just call a spade if we can this morning. This whole thing feels kind of yucky. And then, in the midst of all this yuckiness, it's Rosh Chodesh today. We have officially entered the Hebrew month of Adar, which of course contains the holiday of Purim. And with this month comes the rabbinic commandment to be happy. This actually comes from the Talmud. It is in Ta'anit 20a, and it quotes the Mishnah. Quote, the Mishnah teaches that from when the month of Av begins, one decreases acts of rejoicing. Rav Yehuda, son of Rav Shmuel bar She'ilat, said in the name of Rav, just as when Av begins, one decreases rejoicing, so too when the month of Adar, that's now, begins, one increases their rejoicing. Now, immediately after this quote in the Gemara, we get an even better quote, which every Jewish lawyer will love. This is from the Talmud. It says, quote, Rav Papa said, therefore, in the case of a Jew who has a court obligation, let him avoid the court in the month of Av, when the Jew's fortune is bad. He should rather make himself available in the month of Adar, when fortune is good. So there you have it, Jews. If you have to go to court, you better do it this month because your luck will be better. Now, because I'm being honest this sermon, let me also tell you, I don't like being told how to feel. You can tell me what to do. I may or may not like that. But I have a real problem with an entity telling me how to navigate my emotional status. If I want to be happy, I'll be happy. If I want to be sad or grumpy, I will be. Just ask my wife. But I think it's unreasonable to try and mandate someone's happiness. I don't think that's rational or really possible, because we as human beings are designed to be complex and very emotional critters. And also, as we saw, not great stuff can happen during the month of Adar, which makes it really hard to like sometimes. What is interesting, however, is that I've noticed that Adar can increase happiness organically, almost without trying. So after a long week post-Shabbaton, with different rabbinic candidates trying out here at Agudas Achim, our office staff yesterday were all feeling a little deflated, and dare I say, possibly even a little depressed. Well, we all kind of just decided to put on our Purim costumes and make a really silly video. And I've got to say, making that video was the most amount of fun that we've had in a while. At one point, the girls in the office were laughing so hard, I thought someone was going to hyperventilate. Side note, if you have not watched the video we sent out yesterday, I encourage you to check it out. Even if you don't like it, you will be impressed at how much of our dignity we are willing to put on the line for the benefit of this shul. But sometimes the happiness of Adar does not just automatically increase organically. So, what does Jewish tradition say to do when you're supposed to be happy, but you can't achieve that happiness naturally? Well, thankfully, the Jews and rabbis of old found a natural ally that can help someone get really happy really quick. And that ally is, wait for it, alcohol! Dun, da, 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 da. Now, this idea of alcohol and Purim, and the idea of getting really schnockered in the month of Adar, actually has a basis in the Talmud as well. This is from Talmud Megillah 7b. It says, quote, Rava said, "It is one's duty to make oneself so drunk with wine on Purim that they cannot tell the difference between the phrase, cursed be Haman, boo, and blessed be Mordechai." So there you have it, folks. If you can't be naturally happy, according to the rabbis, just go out and get really, really plastered. Mazel tov. That's your answer. I have to admit, I don't think it's a good idea to encourage people to get really intoxicated if they're not feeling it. I don't think that alcohol really addresses the problem of unhappiness. I think it is oftentimes used as a mask to hide behind when one is unhappy. And I'm not the only rabbi who thinks so. So, what is a healthier or holier alternative to happiness during Adar? Well, according to one of the French Rishonim, a guy named Rabbi David Ben Levi, who lived in the 13th century, he says, quote, "The increase in happiness as Adar enters is not an instruction to eat and drink more. Instead, one should focus on the hearts of those who are impoverished and destitute, and in general, all of the happiness of doing mitzvot." This is echoed, by the way, by Maimonides, the Rambam, a medieval Spanish rabbi, who likewise said, quote, I love this, "When a person eats and drinks in celebration of Purim, he is also obligated to feed converts, orphans, widows, and others who are destitute and poor. In contrast, a person who locks the gates of their courtyard and eats and drinks with his children and his wife without feeding the poor and the embittered, they are not indulging in rejoicing associated with the mitzvot, but rather they are rejoicing in their own stomach." Wow. Now that's a lot to break down. Note for the record, Rambam says you're obligated to feed converts. So I like cookies. But seriously, I think their approach to obtaining happiness during the month of Adar, I think their approach is a lot healthier. And how do they say one can achieve happiness? Through doing mitzvot, through giving charity, through the helping and uplifting of others. Because when one suspends their own needs and focuses on rather the needs of the helpless, that is really the best way to lift up their own neshama and increase the simcha in their own soul. So you know what I'm going to do, friends? After researching this, I've decided that I'm going to make a donation to the San Antonio Food Bank in this month of Adar. And if you can, I recommend you do the same thing. If not that charity, pick another one that inspires you. And if you would rather focus on volunteering, note that on March 23rd here at Agudas Achim, we'll have a food distribution day where you can help pass out food to people who need it. And friends, I promise you, helping others not only makes an impact in your community, but it will increase your own happiness as well. So in conclusion, yes, it's been a week, and we might not have David Mendelson this Shabbat, but hey, you've still got me, and I've still got you, and I gotta admit, that makes me pretty happy in the month of Adar. Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov.